Thank you, Presiding Officer. As René Descartes said in 1637, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Perhaps the motto for this debate and for Scotland should be, I eat, therefore I am. And indeed, I and all of us in this chamber are what we eat. And when I was a youngster, what I ate was really very different from what I eat now. Much of it was gathered in at our own hands in variety. We foraged for wild raspberries, wild strawberries, brambles, blaeberries, crab apples, sloes, rose hips. We gathered nettles, dandelions, wild garlic, mushrooms. We hunted for and ate... Yes?
Neil Findlay.
Since he was that busy, at what time did he have the time to invent the computer?
Stewart Stevenson.
Well, the computer, of course, was necessary to manage the complexity of life in a foraging environment, so therefore drove the need for that. Rabbits, pigeons, crows, the occasional hare. We got given bits of venison, roe deer largely, and pheasants. Trout, sea trout, the sea trout, of course, all caught below the high tide mark. We grew apples, plums, gooseberries, raspberries, strawberries, onions, potatoes, carrots, cauliflowers, cabbage, lettuce, and beetroot. And my father, very fortunately as a country doctor, barely a day would go by without his returning with a brown paper bag full of eggs, a pat of butter, a tub of crowdie or some homemade cheese. The link between supplier and consumer was extremely short for us in our family. And there was virtually no sugar in our diet because, of course, it was rationed until I was 6 years old, even though in Cooper, where I was brought up, there was a huge British Sugar Corporation factory that turned sugar beet into sugar. But we still have the opportunity, and our constituencies and other members have used their speaking time to talk of the local opportunities, and I will do much the same. I have the Rock Cafe in White Hills, which actually has its own trawler that it gets its fish from. So none of this Faroese or Icelandic stuff, although the trawler may have been up there to get some of the fish. We have one of the great adaptations of the Scottish cuisine, the Scotch pie, but not filled with meat, filled with Cullen skink, which you can get from Downey's, price £1.60. And when my wife says, I'm going to Johnny's, what do you want? She's not going to the butcher. She's not going to John Stewart's Quality Family Butcher. She's going to a friend called Johnny, who happens to be the butcher. He will tell us the field that the beef has come from. He will tell us the name of the farmer that's provided it. And he's cut the supply chain. He's cut lots of people in the middle who are taking money out of what's going on. And we've taken Nigel Don's advice, and the farmers' market in Macduff, that is once a month, is in the covered old fishing market. I don't despise TV chefs as much as some. It was Delia Smith who, rather than concentrating on presentation on telly, actually showed you how to cook things. And to this day, I use Delia Smith's recipe for cooking rice. Be it cheap rice, be it expensive rice, it works. So food is a matter of debate. Now, why are we in such a pass with the source of some of our processed meat? I think there are many and complex reasons why that is the case. One of the ways of looking at errors in systems that the American Federal Aviation Authority use, they have 9 headings for looking at failures. And 2 of them, I think, in particular, I would briefly like to highlight. One is inadequate leadership, and the other is lack of assertiveness. What they found in aviation was that most of the mechanical causes of air crashes had been eliminated. Planes were getting much more reliable, and what you were left with 2 human beings at the front of the plane who were causing an increasing proportion of the accidents. A greybeard captain with 20 or 30,000 flying hours, a junior officer behind them. The junior officer, more recently trained, better able to fly the plane, but unable to challenge the old greybeard. They introduced a system of cockpit resource management and enabled to get a better balance. And I think one of the things that we're missing in our food industry line in particular is actually relying on the people who are at the front. Jim Mather did a presentation in 2005, our former minister here, and one of the quotes that he took from, I think, Seddon was, "Make the worker the inspector," because the person in the front line knows what's going on, and it's important that they do. Turn the Food Standards Agency original goal, which was minimise risk to public health, into a more collaborative and positive one. Work with the food industry to progressively increase the volume and value of safe, healthy, nutritional food to improve public health and well-being. Move away from imagining that simply inspecting a process to death will actually lead to the outcomes we need. Yes, you need the inspection, of course you do, but move to seeing that those who understand the objectives are equipped to contribute to them. Make sure that the people who are working in the industry at every level know why their industry is there. Because the people in the front line are the people who understand what's going on, the people who can really contribute to improving the industry.
Could I ask you to come to a conclusion,
Presiding Officer, it's certainly the case that if we can shorten the chain, we'll cut the cost, we'll improve the product. I'll end with a quote from Rumpel of the Bailey, because today's quotes. If you want the recipe for steak pie, don't ask a vegetarian. Let's get the people in the front line to be the people who actually improve our industry.